time it fell over, but they did save the chimney as a battlefield landmark very thoughtfully. Mike Andrews, do you remember seeing the house?
No.
Former Park Service historian here, Richmond, Mike Andrews, my old colleague and friend. Barbara Cottrell, who was descended from the Allisons, claims that it was knocked down in 1991. And you'd been here by a couple of years by then, so that's why I was asking. I got here in 1991, I don't remember it. So it hasn't been that long. Hasn't been that long at all. Notice that we're on a knob. See how the ground drops off to the north? That's the third ravine, the upper ravine on your map. I'm facing north here, and George Pickett's division would be on the other side of that ravine, and most of these trees would not have been there, with the exception of just the usual scattering along the stream bottom, thickets and briars and small trees. So make sure you see where we are on the map. Allison House ought to be evident, I hope. And remember that the Confederate line ran in front of the Allison House, but on this side of the modern house. So when you turned off the road and walked up into this shady spot, you went right through the Confederate line. And this is the view that the Confederates would have had. And it was some of Kershaw's division. There are Mississippians in front of us 150 years ago. Benjamin Humphreys' brigade. To their right, on the other side of those cedar trees, would have been the other side of the cedar trees. There's the landowners. The other side of the cedar trees would have been Evander Law's Alabama Brigade, and beyond that, on the National Park property, would have been George T. Anderson's Georgia Brigade. And there was abundant artillery sprinkled through this line of entrenchments. And this view that you now have shows you what a spectacular field of fire that really was. Now the Allisons, Albert Allison, who lived here in 1860, the census said he was 61 years old. He was worth $5,500. He owned 3 slaves, and he was the father of 6 children, all 6 girls, for whatever that is worth. Those of you who were on the tour or talk on June the 1st over at Beulah Church with Gordon Ray, in which he described the Confederate efforts to retake the Cold Harbor Crossroads, an effort led by Lawrence Kit, the senior colonel of a South Carolina brigade. You remember how Kit was mortally wounded in that charge, very famously. Kit was brought on June the 1st into the Allison House in a dying condition. And they thought he would be safe here. This was well behind the Confederate lines, and they put him in a bed on the other side of the chimney around the corner. They thought that would be good, and as soon as they put him in there, some lucky